All right, this is Joe and Cola with GrowingYourGreens.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. And as you guys can see, I'm here in the middle of a city. You know, there's sidewalks and concrete and streets all the way around. But guess what? You know, even though there's lawns and all this kind of stuff growing, there's still food growing actually in the lawn. Believe it or not. So this is the episode you guys are going to want to know. I mean, I believe everybody in the world should watch this episode. So if you have friends, hey, be sure to pass them along this link so that they can watch it, because this is truly the video for people that want to eat homegrown food or local food, you know, from their area without even having to grow a garden. This is completely amazing. And I know some of you guys, John, what? How can you eat food without growing a garden? I'm going to give my garden up. Well, I don't say give your garden up, you know, by any means, because I think growing a garden is still one of the best things you could do. But there are a lot of wild foods that you can't eat. And now I haven't had an episode on wild foods yet, because it's very important, you know, when you're harvesting wild foods, is to harvest the right wild foods, because you can get sick and very ill by eating the wrong ones. So I'm bringing in an expert today, Katrina Blair, who's been a wild food forager for many years now, literally wrote a book on the subject. And today, this episode, one of the most important ones I've ever done, because we're going to share with you guys the top 13 wild foods that grow everywhere in the world. So I don't care if you're in the Netherlands. I know I have viewers in the Netherlands. Hey, what's up? Or Australia, what's going on? Or South America, or the Caribbean, or here in the United States, or in Canada. You know, these foods grow everywhere. Wherever there's been, you know, man living and the disturbed soil, these weeds find their way in to your environment, and then you can harvest them and eat them. So that's why this video is so important. I'm so excited about it. And you know, the one thing I want to encourage you guys right now, before harvesting anything wild, especially if it's from your neighbor's, you know, lawn, that you don't know how things are being grown, you want to make sure it's not sprayed with chemicals, pesticides, and, you know, there's not like, it's not a major freeway where it's so much cars going by. But for the people that always talk about, John, how could you eat the stuff right grow next to the freeway or the street, right? Well, I want to say, I don't know, I've driven through Central California, and there's a lot of farms literally on the freeway, you know, off the Highway 5, that, you know, cars are going by, but then you're not questioning the produce grown in the stores, but you're questioning the wild foods grown in your yard, right? So think about that one. But anyways, I think wild foods, locally foods, always better than things that have been shipped in. We're also going to learn about this a little bit later in the episode. So I guess without further ado, let's go ahead and introduce the expert, Katrina Blair, the wild food forager, harvester, who's going to share with you guys some of these wild foods that are available near you without growing a garden. So now we're here with the expert wild food forager, Katrina Blair. She's from Turtle Lake Refuge in Durango, Colorado. And the cool thing about Katrina, I mean, she doesn't look like she's been harvesting and wild foraging and educating people about wild foods for the last 30 years, but she has. So she really knows her stuff. And, you know, even at this lawn right here, there's food we could eat on this lawn. So we're going to have her share some of these wild foods with you. So, Katrina, what's the first wild food that we're just seeing in abundance here?
Oh, my goodness. Well, thanks for having me, John. It's nice to be here. The first food that's super obvious, it's growing here in the crack, is the dandelion. And the dandelions are growing all over the world, in lawns, in sidewalk cracks, even in the sidewalk crack of San Francisco. And I actually appreciated what you said in your introduction, that some of these wild foods, because they're so vibrant in their nature, like their core seed has this resilient genetics in it. It's going to survive. And as humans, when we put that in us, we are what we eat, and we get that resiliency to know how to survive in this crazy, constant changing climate. And so by eating even this wild food from the sidewalk crack of San Francisco may be way more nutritious than anything in the grocery store. And I appreciate your perspective, because I hold that same perspective. So here we have the wild dandelion, and here's the dandelion flower. It actually is closed up because it hasn't seen the sun yet, and they open with the sun. But the entire plant of the dandelion is edible. The greens, the stem, the flowers, the roots. It's a little bitter, but the bitters are what tone our organs and give our liver that exercise to release toxins and really make our whole body more efficient. So eating, everyone's homework from this moment on is to go out and eat a dandelion every time you see it, like once a day if it's in the season. And of course, what I do is I gather them and then dry them and grind them into a green powder for the winter. So I still have my wild minerals. Because these roots go down quite deep and they pull up minerals that we don't access in general commercially grown foods.
Awesome. So Katrina, I know that you could use the dandelion root as a coffee substitute. I don't recommend you guys drink coffee, but how can you use dandelion root as a coffee substitute?
Well, what I love to do is I harvest the roots and dry them and then chop them up, wash them, chop them up, dry them, and then I grind it up in a coffee grinder, and then I put it in a little mate gourd, and I use my little Bombio straw, and I sip on it in the morning. I pour a little hot water on it, and it's just this divine bitter drink that really makes my whole system have energy in the morning. But it's different than like a coffee energy that crashes. This is just a really sustained energy because it's making your whole system more efficient and more alkaline, and you get this amazing life force vitality from the enzymes and the minerals from the roots.
Awesome, awesome. So let's learn about the next wild food from Katrina.
And the next one is all the wild grasses with their 8 amino acids. As a survival food, it could save your asses. So grass is one of the 13. Dandelion's one, grass is another. And all the grasses are edible. However, we're here in Las Vegas, and this grass is our neighbor here, who we don't know, but it looks pretty pristine, which indicates it probably has been applied, had herbicides and like kind of a weed and feed chemical fertilizer and herbicide applied. And that's really not food. So we're gonna go find some wild grass that is more grass that I would like to eat. But this grass, if it wasn't sprayed, would be very edible. And what I do in the morning, like in the springtime, I'll go out with my blender and I'll just have some scissors and I'll just cut the grass and put it right in my blender. And I add water and throw in an apple, blend it up and strain out the fibers. And then I'm getting all that complete protein, immense amount of minerals and vitamins that come from the green chlorophyll in grass.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, another way to use the grass is to just put it in your mouth and chew it and spit out the pulp, or even better yet, in my opinion, get a slow single agar juicer such as the Omega NC800 till they extract all the juice out of the nutritious leaves of the grass.
Fabulous.
All right, Katrina, let's go ahead and head to the backyard where we could actually eat some of this grass. So now we're in another area of the yard and looks like we got some nice baby tender grass to eat. And Katrina, why is this grass better than the other grass? No, this is not that same kind of grass you guys might be thinking.
Yeah, this is a wild variety of grass that it's a young tender grass that's coming up and is actually at the ideal stage to nibble on, to chow down. And I gotta give it a taste too.
There you go, wild forager right there.
And when you start to chew this grass, like the flavors tell your body immediately, wow, it is packed with nutrition. And the chlorophyll in it, it feels so good. You can feel the protein building your muscles. That is how you get so strong and muscular, by eating grass.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. If you guys are eating cows or meat or animals, I mean, you're not getting the protein from them directly. You're getting them from the food they ate. And if they're factory feedlot cows or whatever, they're eating genetically modified corn and soy, which I do not recommend. Free-range cows be eating grass, but I say let's just eliminate the cow and let's just eat the grass.
And that is exactly the wisest way to go. In this world, go straight to the direct sources of protein and don't get that middle step that has a lot of toxins in it. You can move that one out of the way and go direct.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing about the animal agriculture, it's so intensive on the resources and just not good for the planet, not sustainable, for all the people on the planet, but there's grass growing everywhere.
It's the highest source of protein. We've got denser sources in animal meat products, but those actually concentrate toxins. So going to the higher source, which it's almost the first on the chain, we're avoiding all the toxins that get stored in these animals, but going direct to get our protein from greens is the way to go.
The other thing I've heard, Katrina, tell me if this is true or not, that the grasses absorb like 90 plus minerals, because they just take it all in.
98.
98.
That's what's been written. Out of 108 minerals sort of available on the earth, grass can do 98 of them, pull them into their blades.
And that's if it's in the soil.
Right.
Wow, this is actually quite better. I'd rather have this than actually wheatgrass from my local health food joint. And this is free.
It's a fabulous source. And what I love about eating wild foods right growing on the earth is that you make a direct connection, because these plants are incredibly intelligent beings that live outside their whole life. Their seeds came from who knows where, flying around the world, landed here, their roots go down and are connected to all the microorganisms in the soil. And all of a sudden, when we put that into our body, we become as smart as this grass. And this grass is so smart. And so the more you eat wild, the more your wild instincts of how to survive come alive.
Wow, yeah. Eat some grass, get smart. Everybody that has kids, make sure your kids eat some grass every day. Katrina, now besides just chewing on it, would be another good way to eat it would be to just, dry the baby blades of grass in like a dehydrator and then blend them up in a high-speed blender like a Vitamix or a coffee grinder. Just grind up in a powder to have your own green powders, because they sell these green powders for, $40, $50 a pound at the health food store, but why not make your own?
Yeah, and what I notice when I do that with all the wild greens, like all 13 of the wild plants I make green powders with, and with grass, it depends. You want to make sure if you're going to do that, pick the most tender grass that breaks down, because when it gets really a lot of cellulose, your body doesn't need that much cellulose. So that's why we juice it or spit it out and chew it, that kind of thing. But the tender grass, exactly, it makes great green powder.
And here's the little fiber that I spit out after getting all the nutrients out of it. All right, with that, Katrina, let's go ahead and go to the next
right here.
Edible green. Oh, no, another one. Wow, look at that.
So I happen to be staying at Daryl Elliott's house, which happens to be the vegan headquarters of Couchsurfing. If you're ever in Las Vegas, go to Couchsurfing Vegan, that site, and he's got a great room, and he's an amazing host. So we're at his little front yard garden here, and the next wild food is a thistle. Don't be afraid of the prickle of the thistle. Drink down the juice, it'll make you want to whistle. Like a wild seed winging through the air, waving its arms like it just don't care. Put 'em up. So this one happens to be a sow thistle, and all the thistles are edible. And this one's actually one of the more choice edible thistles that you can just eat on the spot, because it's not very prickly and it's very delicious. So this is a sow thistle. And it's so good.
Now I want to talk, we're harvesting some of these young baby tender greens. Like, is that some of the best ways to harvest these wild foods so they're more tender and they're literally more nutritious?
Yeah, actually the young greens, like microgreens, have as much as 40% more nutrients available than mature vegetables. So yeah, if you can get them young, do, but at all ages, they're gonna have different benefits to us.
Well, you guys might be buying like mescaline mix at your local health food store for like whatever, $5, $6 a pound. Man, this stuff tastes way better to me, and it's much more vibrant. Let's talk about the energy, prana, chi, or life force in some of these still living plants as you harvest them and eat them. What would you say about that?
That's the magical thing about eating wild directly from the earth, is a little goes a long way, because you're getting it at its absolute most vital state. When things get harvested from a garden or big farms, and then trucked over to the supermarket, it could be a week or a month, who knows, that they have been taken from the ground and then put on the shelf. By the time we eat it, the vitality keeps going down. When we just put it right in our mouth from the earth, it's at the peak, and you feel it. Like the energy and the inspiration and the clarity is really noticeable, to the point of like ecstatic joy.
Wow, amazing. Some of the studies I've seen, within 24 hours, up to 50% of certain nutrients can be lost in the food. So, harvested fresh.
And you don't have to eat as much. Like a little does go a lot longer, because how rich it is.
Awesome. So let's go ahead and move on to the next wild green growing here at Daryl's place.
And it's only 2 feet away, this way.
All right. So now we're going to share with you guys the next wild food that's growing here. But check it out. You might think, oh man, that guy's place looks really cool. There's all these wild foods growing, but his whole backyard is like not planted out in a garden, or not planted out. I encourage him to plant the garden, but he doesn't have the time. And this is one of the joys of the wild foods, right? They just grow on their own without even you tending to them. You guys could be eaten. All right, Katrina, so what are we looking at here?
Okay, so here we have the wild mustard. All the wild mustards, with their petals of 4, are spicy and sweet enough to make you want more. Their flowers come in yellow, pink, purple, and white, enough to get the creative juices flowing into the night. So this is a wild mustard that's so delicious and succulent, and it's actually reseeded. These are the old seed stocks.
Oh yeah, here, let's take a look. This is the big plant above it, and you guys can see, like, up at the top, this is where it goes to the seed And I think this one had some seed pods on there.
Yeah, and these seed pods are loaded with tiny little yellow mustard seeds. And there's a saying goes that, if you have the strength of a mustard seed, you can move mountains. These little mustard seeds are actually edible too. You could make your own mustard sauce or just sprinkle them in your smoothie for that stimulation of circulation, moving the blood. And try those, they're delicious.
Yeah, I mean, these are literally microgreens for free. You guys could go down to Trader Joe's and buy like 1 ounce of microgreens for like $6, or just come out to your friend's backyard that doesn't spray anything. Wow, these are some of the best mustard greens I've tasted. So mild and delicious.
They're so good. So spicy and
wow.
Powerful.
Yeah, I mean, when they get older, they get even more spicy, so that's why I like to harvest them at the young stage. Now, another thing I want to talk about, Katrina, is because, there's a little seed pod that we saw right here. Another thing I would encourage you guys, and we'll have a good offer at the end of this, so stay tuned for the end. But if you identify 100% wild foods that you know what it is, and you identified the plant like we know this is mustard, you should harvest these seed pods and make a bed or a little garden at home and take these seeds and spread them in your garden. If you're not going to have a garden where you control the soil and grow in good soil, which we'll talk about at the end of this video, you can just take these and sprinkle them out in your yard. If you find these at a park, right? Oh, that's mustard seeds. Bring them home. Sprinkle them all around your yard, or don't sprinkle them around your neighbor's yard because they might get some weeds that you could eat if they don't spray. But you could have these foods easily that are just gonna survive in nature because they are survivors. And let's talk about that, Katrina, for a second. What the survival instinct of these wild foods? Why is it so important for us to get these into us?
So the amazing thing about these 13 wild plants is that they grow everywhere around human civilization, and their niche is our disturbance. And so we make the most amazing symbiotic relationship where humans are the best disturbers of ground on the planet. We're really good at that. And then these wild weeds, that's their niche. That's where they're going to grow. So no matter where we grow, where we live in the world, these wild plants are following our footsteps. And they can survive in very inhospitable conditions. They can survive at high altitudes, like as high as 12,000 feet. They can go all the way down to sea level, be really cold, like in the Arctic, or really hot, like in Hawaii or Japan or some of these Philippines, some of these, or Las Vegas. And also dry. They can handle dry drought climates like here, or really lush places. So their ability to survive in diverse conditions is amazing. And when we eat them, it teaches us how to do that, survive in diverse situations.
I'm a survivor. And also too, I mean, another thing to note is that, if you are into survivalists and all this kind of stuff, you definitely need to know these plants inside and out because they will be anywhere, that you could literally be in the world.
And I'm actually on a little traveling right now. I'm kind of teaching around, and what I love is that no matter where I go, I have my garden. I just go and in the mornings I go wander and find the cracks and the weeds, and that's where I get my greens each day that are fresh. And that is very empowering to know that you can just eat wherever you are in the world.
I mean, think if every homeless person that's begging money on the corner knew about these plants. I mean, instead of giving them money, give them this book that Katrina wrote so that they can empower themselves to eat their own food. They'll be a lot healthier because of it, and it'll actually give them something to do.
Yahoo! Thank you, John.
All right, so let's take a look at the next wild food growing here. So we had to walk down the street actually to find this next wild green, and it was actually a bit difficult because it looks like people's lawns on the street has been spraying like some kind of herbicide to keep their grass nice so that they don't have all these weeds grown up. And Katrina, let's talk about herbicides and spraying lawns and why that's probably not the best idea to do.
Yeah, one of the biggest reasons is that it really compromises the honeybee and all the wild pollinators' immune system, and then they have trouble, big trouble, such as colony collapse and all of that. The wild weeds actually have so much nectar in pollen that the bees forage on. So, I mean, just for that reason alone, we need our weeds, and we definitely don't want to spray anything on our wild land, or even our lawns, like in our yards, anything like that. But then, the wild plants, they have deep taproots, and I consider them the best permaculture teachers and permaculture plants of the world because their deep taproots pull up the minerals into their leaves. Then they compost every year in the fall and then rebuild topsoil. Their roots aerate and break up that compaction and bring in the earthworms and all the microorganisms. And so basically they're the best regenerators of the earth. I mean, so not only are they food and medicine for us, but they're actually regenerating the earth from our disturbance. So we need our weeds.
Awesome. So what's the weed that we're looking at now?
The 3-leaf clover, with its roots so deep, pulls up minerals from 100 feet. When you eat that clover flower and leaf, it builds your bones and strengthens your teeth. So clover is one of these plants that really has one of the best mineral drawing character. And so I like to eat them just directly or dry them, make tea, and sometimes green powder too. And just as a caution, with the clover family, it's got 3 leaves and they all taste different. And actually this is a caution about all these wild 13, is that every time you come upon one of them, even if you've met it a million times before, always reintroduce yourself, both out of respect and say thank you, and also taste it. And by doing that, your tongue will tell your body, because you're smart, you're brilliant, and your body will tell you how much you need, and your tongue will tell you. So taste it. If it's delicious, you can add a lot. You can throw some in your smoothie, you can dry a bunch in your green powder. But if it's really potent, then just use a little. And your tongue will tell you when to stop.
Awesome. So yeah, I mean, another thing about the clover is that you could wild harvest the clover seeds and then sprout them in your kitchen. Have clover sprouts. I mean, they sell clover sprouts at the grocery store, and I want you guys to eat out of your garden, out of your yard, wild foods instead of out of the grocery store, as much as possible. And yeah, eating your own wild harvested stuff and sprouted stuff at home will allow you to do that. Next, we have another wild edible we found right here, and no, that's not what you're looking at here. These are the roses. Rose petals actually are edible, but they're not one of the 13 for the scope of this video or for Katrina's book. So Katrina, which one do we have here?
So this one is in the Malvaceae family, so it's a malva or a mallow, but this particular one is a hollyhock. And the hollyhock is so amazing. So the hollyhock, it's also in the okra family, so okra is part of it, so it's got that slimy, mucilaginous quality. And when you eat it, it actually, it's really a cool texture. And by eating it, it draws out toxins that we might be carrying around in our fat cells or in our lungs. I mean, really, it's just like it gently moves it out of our respiratory system. And but the mallow is also delicious. Sometimes it can grow this big and you can make a burrito out of it. It makes a great burrito and makes delicious, the whole thing is edible. So you can eat the flowers and the little seed pods, and anywhere from there's this common mallow that grows a lot, especially in people's gardens, or this really bigger mallow, the hollyhock. So mallow is mellow and good for your skin. It's slimy and emulsifying. Grind the whole plant into a goo. It makes fabulous lotion and shampoo.
Awesome. So I mean, I know many of you guys might be using bottled and packaged shampoos and lotions and things to put on your skin, but these have a lot of toxins, in them, and chemical additives that we do not want to be putting on our body, because if we're putting something on our body, guess what? It's going in our body. So Katrina, how can we make a lotion out of this mallow?
So what's fun about it is that you can make your lotion by just taking the mallow, the roots, stem, flowers, the entire plant. If you wanted to pull it out, thank the plant, of course, and then chop it up, put it in water. And what happens after an hour of it sitting in water is the water turns into like egg white goo, like total thick slime. And that's the base of your lotion and your shampoo. If you want to make lotion, then add a little coconut butter, a little essential oil. You can always thicken it with cucumber or avocado. And that makes such a hydrating skin lotion. And then for shampoo, using another one of the 13s, which is lamb's quarter, and you can use the roots of lamb's quarter, which has saponin in the roots, and that makes the sudsy quality. So you've got a slimy suds for your shampoo.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite foods is the mallow. I actually grow that in my garden. I grow a tree mallow. It's a purple flowered tree mallow. Has those nice burrito-like leaves you can eat. And be sure to check my past videos. I'll put a link down below this video for my episode on the tree mallow that I love so much.
Oh, wonderful.
Awesome. So let's see if we can find another wild food in this neighborhood. So we're walking down the street looking for more wild edibles to share with you guys, and Katrina walked right by this one, but I saw it, my expert eye, because this is the one actually I grow in my garden because I believe it is so valuable. And Katrina, what do we have here?
Purslane is juicy and pretty, grows in the cracks of every single city. That's purslane, which is so packed with vitamin C, and it's so delicious and it's succulent, lots of water in there. The more omega-3 fatty acids than fish. Like, it's really an incredible food.
Awesome, yeah, and I see this one's actually going to seed here, so we could actually collect the little baby black seeds right here, and we could take them home and grow them. We could also eat these, rich, like she said, in omega-3 fatty acids.
Yes. They're an incredible food. And in a lot of farmers markets around the world, you'll find purslane being sold as a vegetable. But it grows without you even having to do anything. So definitely eat purslane.
Yeah, even in Mexican markets, actually, they'll sell this as a vegetable. In many Mexican markets. You can just buy this stuff. Now, I do want to let you guys know there are wild forms of purslane that grow kind of wild and kind of sprawl out, have smaller leaves. And then there's also garden varieties or more erect kind that actually grow larger leaves, more abundant leaves, and grow a bit taller. So I encourage you guys to grow all the different varieties of purslane and see which one grows best in your garden.
Yahoo!
All right, let's see if we can find another wild food here in the neighborhood. So we looked all over the neighborhood trying to find you guys some plantain, but let me tell you, when we're in a neighborhood that people have nice manicured lawns because there's a HOA association, they'll write you tickets literally and fine you for not having it all perfect and having weeds because they don't want weeds. We were still able to find this many weeds, that we showed you guys, and this is how resilient they are. Now, we're gonna go inside and talk about the other ones that we were not able to find, and we'll show good pictures on the video. But I wanted to give you guys some extra credit. This is not one of the 13, but I also want to let you guys know that there are many different trees that you can harvest the leaves from. One of which is right here, which I know almost all you guys know. It's a pine tree. Another one that I really like, actually, really delicious leaves, is a linden tree. But Katrina, why don't you tell us about this extra credit that's not part of the original 13, but that's also quite edible, and how this would be used.
Right, so this is one of the evergreen trees. It's a pine, and all the evergreen trees, whether it's a pine or a spruce or a fir, they're all edible. These pine needles, these needles. And they have an incredible amount of vitamin C and natural MSM that comes from the atmosphere that accumulates in these needles year after year, day after day. And so I like to just eat them when I pass them by because they all taste different. Or when I find one I really like, which this is actually a really choice one, as I like to actually put them in my blender and make a green juice. And I'll just add like a small handful of pine needles, maybe chop them a few times, and maybe sweeten it with a little apple. Blend it up, strain it out, and you've got this amazing green juice from the evergreen pine needles.
Wow, that sounds so amazing, Katrina. You made me so hungry. Let's go ahead and try that right now.
Okay, we'll see you inside.
So now we're inside the kitchen. We got our wild harvest and only a few more ingredients that you need to add to make a delicious wild blended drink here. And you guys could do this with pretty much any blender, although I do recommend a high power blender because some of these wild foods, especially if they're more mature, get a bit fibrous, and the standard household blenders that are not super powerful will only break up the fibers and extract and explode all the nutrients, into the blender craft. So Katrina, why don't you explain the ingredients that we're gonna use today in our very simple juice.
Okay. So really you can use any of the Wild 13 to make your green juice. The ones we chose to use today are the sow thistle. These are thistle greens. And then we use the fresh grass that was just growing outside, this wild young grass. And then we chose to, since we had these pine needles, they add a nice vitamin C lemony twang. So we're using the pine needles and then an apple. And then we're just gonna use water, purified water. And this is actually, could be spring water, but I think it's just purified water. So we're gonna just go ahead and get started. We're gonna cut the apple in half, and I like to put apple seeds in my juice. So the apple seeds are a great source of B17, excuse me.
Laetrile.
Yeah. So a little bit is one of those preventative things that help break down inferior proteins in the body. So every now and then throw in your apple seeds.
I know guys might be thinking, but I heard apple seeds contain cyanide. So how would you respond to this?
So they do, but it's in a food form, and so if you don't overdo it, if you don't eat a gallon bushel of the seeds all in one sitting, you're fine. It's a very, very dilute amount, and it actually acts as a really powerful medicine to get rid of proteins that are no longer useful for your body, which could include tumors. So it's a really powerful preventative.
I mean, one of the things is the dose is the poison. And let's talk about that, especially in respect to the wild foods, because they're wild. I mean, they're not like mellow leafy greens you might grow in your garden with all the latex or the white sap, like, you know, taken out of it, because I mean, you could eat wild lettuce, which we didn't cover in this, but it's a lot more powerful. So let's talk about how much of these wild foods you might want to include. And as you'll notice, we're actually putting a lot of water to dilute this down because these foods are very powerful.
That's right. And when you're first introducing your body to the wild food, you want to go slow, because they're way more powerful than a lettuce that you buy at the supermarket. So you don't need to eat a lot of them. Start with a little bit and see how you feel, and then build up once you know the plant and you know your body and you know the relationship. And even then you always still introduce yourself to that specific plant, because it's always new. It's growing in a new place, in a new time, and a new stage of its growth, and you're new. So always go slow and be cautious. So these are the wild. We already put in the apple and the grass, the young grass, and this is the sow thistle. We'll put that in, and then we're going to put the pine needles in, and we're going to add water.
So I want to say that, you know, we are making basically a juice with the blender. Now, while you can do this, this is not a method actually I would recommend. I do have a video on why you shouldn't use your blender as a juicer, kind of like we're doing. It'd be much more effective, in my opinion, to use a slow juicer, run all these things through the slow juicer to get the juice out, and then add some water to it. Basically, real quick, the blender actually runs at a very high speed, so it basically oxidizes and adds air into the mixture more, so you're not getting the highest quality. But, you know, once again, this stuff, whether it's blended or juice, is far better than any processed food, any junk food, and even many animal foods, you know, out there, in my opinion.
And just one note on that, why I do actually also just use the blender as part of my teaching, is that most people have a blender, and you can go out and spend $30 and get one, even a cheap kind, and make your green juice. And so it's not, even though you could get a more high-powered juicer, but that's more like $300, and this just makes it accessible to everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with that. I think it's far better to buy a cheap blender and do this than rather to not do it and make excuses up in your head. Oh, I can't do that because I can't afford the $300 blender. I mean, if you got the $300 extra and you want to do the best you can, yes, go ahead and do that. But, you know, if you don't have that, that's all right. Get a blender for free or for $5, $10 on Craigslist, or go out to Walmart, buy a cheap one, so that you can get these wild foods in your body, because that is the message of this video today.
Great.
All right, so let's blend this guy up. So the thing with blending, you guys want to remember, is you want to only blend the minimal amount of time to get the blended consistency that you want. So do not over blend. Do not just turn it on and leave the room for 5 minutes. This blender will actually heat it up and actually create a hot soup if you leave it that long. We just blended it to just masticate and break up all the fibers. And now we're just gonna go ahead and strain this out. And look, we didn't even get all the pine needles out.
But it's perfect. It's gonna be so delicious. And depending on what plants you're using, I would actually, sometimes you don't have to strain it. So if it's not high fiber plants, we did strain it because of the grass and the pine needles. But if you're just doing dandelion or plantain or mallow, don't strain it, and you've got the amazing fiber, and you can make a smoothie or just drink a little bit of a fibery juice. And that is actually preferred.
Yeah, of course, some people don't like fiber, and it might upset their system, so in which case you might want to strain it, even if you don't have to. I mean, there's so many options with the wild foods. There's all these different foods you could try, and you might, you know, gravitate to some wild edibles more than others. And Katrina, do you want to talk about that and listening to your body?
Yeah, so there's some wild edibles that are very delicious and mild, like purslane and mallow, and the lamb's quarter and amaranth are pretty mild. They're like spinach. The ones that are more bitter would be plantain and dandelion. So use those, you know, wait till your tongue gets adjusted to them. If you like it, go for it. If you feel like, well, that's too much, just add a little bit and then build up. But try it again next week, because your body changes, and pretty soon your body recognizes the nutrients and it'll start to crave it.
Awesome. I mean, the other thing I'd like to add is, you know, start out slow. You know, if you're not used to doing this stuff, do 1 apple, a bunch of water, 2 dandelion leaves, right? You're probably gonna love it because it's gonna taste like apple juice. And then, you know, add more dandelion leaves, and like, oh man, when I get up to 12 dandelion leaves, it's tasting pretty strong. Then guess what? Go back to 10, stay there for like a week, you know, and then later build up a little bit slowly and add different kinds of wild foods and experiment with all of them to see what you're gonna like the best.
So I grew up, my family tradition, my mom introduced us to this tradition when I was 2, but we drink, as a family growing up, I drank a green juice twice a day, every day of my whole life. And that was like 20 minutes before breakfast and 20 minutes before dinner. And so I encourage all of you to do a green juice every day.
I definitely encourage you guys to do that also, and I do green juice pretty much almost every day myself.
Cheers!
Cheers!
To the green revolution.
Wild green revolution.
So good.
Wow, that's actually amazingly good for just having water, apples, and all those wild greens. And now we're getting the nutrition in us, and some of the best foods, some of the best free foods that you guys could harvest near you. This is probably one of the best ways to get them in you, by blending them up, breaking it up, and adding something a little bit sweet so that even your kids will like it. I think it's definitely a good idea to get your kids and your whole family on these wild green juices every single day, 2 times a day. Sounds great to me.
We never got sick.
Awesome. So Katrina, let's go ahead and sit down, share with you guys out there in YouTube land some of the wild foods that we're not able to find, and also share the information in your book. I mean, if you thought she's a wealth of knowledge here in person, I mean, her book is, I don't know how many, 300 pages full of information and even more recipes so that you guys could get these foods in your body, which is so important and which I'm so passionate about. So now we're outside again, and I want to encourage you guys to be outside whenever you're able. I mean, one of the great things about gardening or harvesting wild foods is that you're out in nature. We're so used to living indoors. We need sun in our lives to make vitamin D and just to get energized with the energy of the sun. Also, when you're harvesting or working your garden, you're getting physical exercise, and also another thing, you're increasing your cognitive abilities, especially when hunting for wild weeds, because you're scanning and looking at things in your brain and you're trying to figure out, okay, is that this and this? And man, your brain burns a lot of calories too. Anyways, so before I go off on any other tangents, we got Katrina's book here, and this is her new book that's now available. It just came out. It's actually called The Wild Wisdom of Weeds, 13 Essential Plants for Human Survival. Now, there's a many wild weed books and wild edible books, but this is the one I would recommend over all others because, these are the 13 foods that occur all in nature, the most prevalent and abundant ones that are safe to eat. And, that's why I want to have her on the show today to share this with you guys. And we went over a number of them already, but now we're going to go over the other ones that we didn't get to cover and we didn't find in the local area. So Katrina, which ones did we find and which ones did we not find yet, and what are they?
Okay, yeah, so just on our short little neighborhood walk, we found 7 of the 13. So there's 6 more. And one of them is dock, curly dock. And eat your dock greens when they're tender and sour. Grind their seeds to make your own flour. So dock is a wild buckwheat, and so it makes an amazing flour that you can use for breads and crackers, as well as the greens are delicious like spinach when they're young. So that's one. And then there's lamb's quarter and amaranth. Guess which one makes the quinoa plant? Both these two are high in protein. Eat them for muscles like Mr. Clean. So amaranth and lamb's quarter are 2 more, and they have complete proteins both in their seeds and their greens and make an amazing food. So that's, now we're up to, we're up to 7 plus 3, that's 9. So the last 3, we've got chickweed. Chickweed is tasty and yummy. It happens to grow everywhere and it's good for your tummy. And knotweed. And knotweed grows low to the ground and it's hard to see it. The funny thing about it, it's not a weed. So knotweed is a really cool plant that also grows so many different places, and there's a lot of varieties to it. And then, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we've got, who we didn't see was actually plantain, which we almost saw. We saw it yesterday. But plantain is, if you need a first aid kit, plantain seeds and leaves are it. Chew the leaves into a mash. It helps with bites and stings and rash. So plantain is an amazing wonder food and an incredible medicine that is, you always need to know, just in case you get bit by a poisonous spider or a snake or an insect. It draws out the toxins, and it also draws out infection and that sort of thing too. Wow,
so if you thought Katrina was a wealth of information, this book is even more a wealth of this information. And Katrina, what prompted you to literally write this book, like 350 pages on these 13 wild foods?
Well, I'm impassioned about quality of life for all beings on Earth, and really moving our society as humanity away from the practice of spraying these wild weeds all around the nation, and realizing the value of ingesting them as food and medicine. So 2 things. One, I love people, and I want people to be healthy and happy, and I love the planet Earth, and I want it to be healthy and happy, and I'm in love with all plants, and these wild weeds have been discriminated against. And I just realized they're so important that we need as humans to know about them and ingest them.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, this book looks totally amazing to me. And, next, Katrina, I want to ask you some questions about harvesting wild weeds, because I know after seeing this episode, us harvesting some stuff in just some neighbors' yards, you guys might be thinking, like, John, Katrina talked about earlier harvesting some wild weeds in the cracks of San Francisco. Like, can I eat that out of cracks in the middle of a city or in the middle of New York City or in Central Park? Like, is there car fumes on it and all this kind of stuff? Like, Katrina, how would you answer the question, like, can somebody eat the wild foods growing outside their apartment in New York City or San Francisco if dogs or maybe peanut, and how do you really know?
Well, so you can't know everything. You do want to be really observant about your environment where you're harvesting, both your intuition and maybe doing some research, asking neighbors if you don't live there and know the patterns. So it's important to be mindful of your environment and ideally choose the most clean environment you can harvest. However, when we live in a city, that isn't always available. So then I go to my intuition and I use my tongue and I go slow. And so if I want to eat something, it looks really healthy to me, I feel good about it, I wash it off. So if it has dog pee on it, you just wash that off, no big deal. It's just a little bit of salt, on the urine, no big deal. And sometimes I accidentally eat it with, washing and you notice, oh, it's salty. Oh, that means somebody peed on it. Doesn't hurt you necessarily. But anyway, wash them and then really taste it first before you put it into a recipe or anything like that. And in this book, there's like a taste test method so that you can go really slow. And so it goes into detail about how to do that more safely. But just use your intuition, your taste, and do a little bit at a time. And if you diversify, your body starts to build up, I can handle wild foods. I can even handle diverse wild foods growing in the city. And actually, that helps us survive in this current modern time.
Awesome. I mean, the one thing I would say to you guys out there that might not want to harvest weeds in your cracks, I mean, if you guys are living in a big city and you're buying our conventional food, conventionally grown food that are sprayed with chemicals, pesticides, and fertilizers that are based, upon oil and making a very, in my opinion, imbalanced crop with imbalanced nutrients in it. For me personally, I would much rather eat something grown in a city that a dog peed on than something conventionally grown with chemical herbicides and pesticides and fungicides on it any single day of the week, and I'd do that unwashed, right? All right, but you guys probably wash it, and I would rather wash it, so don't get me wrong. But anyways, let's talk about that, Katrina. Let's talk about, if you're still buying organically food grown in the store or conventional food grown in the store versus wild food nutrition. Katrina, I know you addressed that in your book, but what did you say to the people out there, watching this video about this topic?
I mean, that's the exciting thing about the wild foods, is that nature is so efficient in abundance. And so it's just the currency of nature is abundance. And so these wild greens are just packed with nutrients, like off the charts in comparison. I mean, 60 to 80% more nutrients can be found in wild foods. And I make that percentage, I have read that somewhere, and I can't absolutely say, no one can say, because every wild food is different, and every grown food in the store is a little different. So, but just, it is way higher. And you can feel it. Like when you eat it, your own integrity of beingness comes alive in a new way.
Wow. I mean, I would totally agree that wild foods have more nutrition in them. I mean, it's simply for the simple fact, right? A lot of the nutrients in the plants are basically the plant's defense system against nature, against sunburn. It makes the really rich pigments, antioxidant pigments that protect it from the sun. And when we eat these pigments, we get that same sun protection per se. I mean, these are the antioxidants and phytochemicals and phytonutrients that are, basically being bred out of many conventional foods in favor of being able to store and ship and not bruise and picked early and all this kind of stuff. All right, Katrina, so you wrote this book on the wild foods, and I know you've been doing this for over 30 years, and for you guys out there, I definitely recommend purchasing this book and learning about these 13 wild foods, but there are so many other wild foods in the world that you could be harvesting in your local area, and while you could get a little book or something and compare and learn about these things, I don't necessarily recommend that because some of the foods, that are edible look like foods that are also quite dangerous and can be toxic and poisonous to you guys, so I always recommend looking in your local area to find a wild foods expert that you could take classes from and people that know more than you so that you can learn by doing. I mean, I think that's the best way to learn by doing and to get familiarity with the plants And although, there's not a lot of wild food experts out there, so I know Katrina will travel to you guys. You could hire her to come out and take you on wild food adventures in your neck of the woods and show you guys the wild foods in your area. So Katrina, would you tell my viewers about this service you offer?
Well, so I am available to come to your location and take a group of people on a wild walkabout, and it could be as short as a day, or it could be as long as a week, and I like to go without food and just eat wild for journeys of a time, and it could be an integrated thing where you maybe bring some food and we integrate the wild foods into our meals. But that's a really great way to learn. And the reason why, I love to share this knowledge with people, but I also want to promote Bee City USA, and that's a new thing going on where there's only 2 cities in the United States right now that are actually a Bee City USA, but any resources that might come from doing that, I want to direct towards more cities getting that consciousness where we just don't spray because we care about the bees and we care about the earth, and we start to know how valuable these wild plants are. So yes,
Wow.
I am available.
Yeah, she lives in Durango, Colorado. She's done some amazing work with getting the park system there to go organic. So this lady's totally amazing. So how can somebody reach you if they want to do that?
So our website is turtlelakerefuge.org, and I check that, so you can write messages to me that way, and I'll respond.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So Katrina, the last thing I want to say to you guys out there, you guys know that I'm really into my garden. If you're not already subscribed, be sure to subscribe to my videos and check my past videos. I have over 1,000 videos now on how you guys could grow food at home, just in your garden and grow the highest quality food. And while I do agree that, wild foods is definitely better than conventional food, I do not agree that wild foods are better than foods grown in my garden with optimal soil conditions. But I could even make that better by growing wild foods in my garden. And think about it. Daryl here, who doesn't have a garden but is growing all these wild foods, just because they're growing naturally, these wild foods are resilient. So even if you have brown thumbs, you're not able to grow anything, these wild foods are the best things you should grow, but it's very hard to get the seeds for you guys. Plus another thing I believe is that we want to become intimate with these plants. We want to know these plants through their different life stages and life cycles, so you can identify them when they're microgreens. You could identify them when they get a little bit bigger. You could identify them when they go to flower and seed, save the seeds and spread them out to other people so that they could grow these wild foods and have the easiest garden ever. But these seeds, some of them are actually controlled substances and should be grown because they are considered noxious weeds in some localities. But what I've arranged with Katrina, World's First, is if you buy her book, and no, don't buy it from Amazon.com because you will not get this deal. You might get the book for cheaper, but you'll not get this deal, which is much more valuable. She's going to send you, for a limited time and a limited amount only, she's going to send you all the different 13 seeds of these different plants when you buy her book.
From Turtle Lake Refuge.
From turtlelakerefuge.org. So this is completely amazing. I'll put the special link down below. It'll be their special link to a webpage with this special offer, because this is not available anywhere else, because I want you guys to grow these foods in your garden, whether you grow them, in a raised bed next to your garden, get these seeds introduced. And yes, if you do this, I'm warning you now, they will come up in your regular vegetable garden, but guess what? An edible weed is a good weed indeed, in my opinion. So yeah, anything you'd like to add to this promotion, Katrina?
Well, thank you, John, for that amazing, brilliant idea. And truly, a lot of these seeds will already be in your garden, but if you want seeds to come with the book, then yeah, please order it from Turtle Lake Refuge and we'll send it to you with the book. And it'll be a great way to learn them more intimately, and that is wise, to just get to know them at all their different stages and use them at all their different stages, and then start experimenting and then share the knowledge.
And the cool thing about this offer is when you get the book, you're going to get a little packet of seeds, and all 13 seeds will be mixed in. And just throw these seeds out or plant them or whatever you want to do. And then you're going to have to go to the book and figure out which one is which, but you're going to be safe, right? This is another thing that's very important to me, is that you guys are safe when growing foods. You're going to be able to identify which one is which, and they're all going to be these edible ones, and they're all going to be safe to eat, especially if you have kids.
Great. Thank you.
Awesome. So yeah, if you want to get this offer, visit turtlelakerefuge.org. Once again, put the special link up in the video so you can type it in, and also below the video in the comments that you can click on to get this offer as soon as it comes out. Yeah, definitely highly recommend this book. If you've been waiting for a wild food weed book, you know, all this time and never bought one, this is the one you want to get, especially with this offer, because I truly believe that growing wild foods that have the already highest nutrients in the best soil, like the practices I teach by building the soil microorganisms with things like, you know, Worm Gold Plus worm castings, rock dust, and kelp meals, and all these things, you'll have the highest quality, best food on the entire planet. And that's my message to you guys. All right, Katrina, any last messages you'd like to share with my viewers out there today?
Oh, love you all.
All right, so I thank you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Be sure to subscribe and share this video with friends. One of the most important episodes I've ever done, in my opinion, because these foods are existing everywhere. I want to thank you, Katrina, for coming out today and allowing me to show you my video and share your valuable information with you guys out there. Once again, my name is John Kohler with GrowingYourGreens.com. We'll see you next time, and until then, keep on growing.